I'm back. Oh my gosh. I just took a shower, got all dressed, got my hair combed. Drying it takes forever. Anyway, here we are. Algebra 1. You guys can care less. I don't know why I even went through that. Common Core, Mr. Krause. My name is Mr. Krause. By the way, all of this stuff, I'll just keep reminding you, can be found at mrkrausemath.com. Very simple. You go here, click on Mr. Krause Math. Hopefully I hit the right button. All right, and here's my website. Simple, simple, simple. That's all. My kids with their spring break. Sorry, kids. You guys are awesome, but I had to give you some spring break work. Anyway, come up here, go to Regents Review, and click on Algebra 1. And after today, all of these links will be active. Right now, we are now working on the very last one right here, the very last one. Now, all the other videos are done. I just don't have the links up. And they will be up soon, but the chances are if you're watching this, they're up. I give you a copy of the exam, I give you a copy of the multiple choice answers, so on and so forth. Don't just use, share it, tweet it, text your friends, let them know, hey, this stuff's available to you as a tool to help you. I'm not here for you to cheat and to get by having to do hard work. Math is hard work, kids. And don't let anybody fool you. Anything that's hard is worthwhile. Anything that's easy is probably not too worthwhile in your life. Think about it. Think about it. But let's get ready to rock and roll. We are going to do parts. I don't know why that keeps going away. Every time I do that, it goes away. All right, it's there now. I don't know why. We're going to be doing parts. I don't know if you can see that. Parts 2 through 4. Problems 24 through 37. My handwriting gets much better than that, so don't get afraid. Well, not much better, but it does get better. Here we go. So we'll start with this problem. Not a particularly difficult question. It says, given the function t of x, they just want to be different and show you t of x, determine whether t of x is linear or exponential. Let me explain the difference between them. If it's linear, we are going to see a consistent slope. Or I should put slope in quotes, rate of change. A consistent rate of change. Rate of change is what we really should be using. Rate of change. If it's exponential, then you're going to see either an increasing or decreasing rate of change. So like my rate of change might go up by even increments of 3, 6, 9, or go down by increments of 2, 10, 8, 6, 4. Something consistent. Rate of change for exponential might start at 3 and go to 9 and go to 27 and go to 81 and go to 243. 243. Something where difference was 6, this difference is 18, this difference is who the heck even knows, a lot. So we're looking for that. So I'm going to avoid the negatives for now. I'm going to deal with these. Well, hold on. The consistent change here is subtracting 2.5. And from here to here is subtracting 2.5. And from here to here is subtracting 2.5. And from here to here. And it's going it's actually going up by 2, up by 2, up by 2, up by 2. So, determine t of x is a linear function since the rate of change is consistent. That's about all you need. Rate of change is consistent. Boom, boom, shaka-laka-laka-laka-laka-laka. Oh yeah, here we go. Marcel's not very smart. I'm just going to put that out right now. Now, if your name's Marcel, I'm not talking about you. I apologize. But you're not very smart, Marcel. Marcel claims the graph below represents a function. Now, Marcel would be correct if we just went here and here and here and here. Passes the vertical line test here. But the problem is, and I'm going to try to do this in the highlighter, is right here. That's the problem right there. When x equals 2, there are two different range values or y values. So what's the question ask? The question says, state whether Marcel is correct. Marcel needs to pay attention more in math, aka best subject ever, because, that's a simple word to say, because. By the way, as long as you're mathematically correct and you tell a small little fun story, as long as it's mathematically correct, that's okay. We graders, we have the worst time sitting in a room with other math teachers. Think about it. Think about all your math teachers. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. All in the same room talking about math all day long. We need things like this to liven things up. So Marcel needs to pay attention more in math class. Because, I forgot what the name of the function is. Oh, they didn't even give it a function. The graph above is not a function, FNC, since it fails the vertical line test, probably should write that out, at x equals 2. Boom, done. Problem's over, and I had a good time with it. Solve the following equation for y. All right. I guess I got to do it algebraically. They don't really tell me any other way. I guess I could guess and check, but maybe not. So what we're going to do with this is double distribute. So it's y minus 3, y minus 3. Don't be that kid that goes, that's y squared minus 9. No, you may want to go back to algebra, or you may want to go back to like 4th grade math. So we're going to double distribute this. It's y squared minus 3y plus 9 is equal to 4y minus 12. Now, you never, ever want to factor when your y squared is negative. See how this y squared over here is positive? That's what we want. So we're going to bring everything to the left side. So I'm going to subtract 4y. And so all of these get put together. And I'm also going to add 12. So I get y squared minus 10y plus 21 equals 0. Now I'm going to factor it. Y and y, minus 3, minus 7. Almost done. I still don't have the answers. The answers are y equals 3 and y equals 7. Now, I would love to know if I got that right. So I'm coming over to my calculator and I'm saying, yo, calculator, we're going to store 7 into x. Use the stove feature. And then I'm going to type the left side in, which is y minus 3 squared. Of course, I could do this in my, I'm going to use x. I used x, I don't know why. X minus 3, it doesn't matter what variable you call it, squared. And I'm going to do 4y minus 4x minus 12. Whatever variable you call it, use it. Oh, look, 16. Now I'm going to do 3. Wait, was it 3? Yeah, it's 3. 3 stored into x. Hit enter. Go. This should be, I think this is 0. And clearly the other one's 0 because it's 3 minus 3 equals 0. Both 0. Okay, there we go. Done. Problem's over with. All right, let's see what's going on here. The graph below shows the variation in the average temperature of the Earth's surface from 1950 to 2000, according to one source. I wonder what that source was. All right, let's see. Okay. During which years did the temperature variation change the most per unit? I want to make sure you understand what it means. It says the most. It doesn't say the most positively or the most negatively. It just said the most. So what we're looking for is the steepest slope or steepest part of the graph, or because that will be where the highest rate of change is. Now, from here to here, it's all the same. It's one straight linear function. So these, no matter what you pick, I mean, if there's anything from 1975 on, oh, there's not multiple choice. We can't pick any of those. Those are all the same. It says, during which years did the temperature variation change the month? So I would guess, I mean, we can check this. This is what? How much? This is 0.1 over 5 years. So 0.1 divided by 5. 0.1 is 1/10 divided by 5 is 1/50th. This would be 1/50th. Positive. But it's 1/50th this whole root. And this one's going up 1 and over 1. This one went up 2 and over 1. If you want to just do that, 2 and 1. So that really that slope is just 2 over 1. And then let's check this one. This one went down 3 and to the right one. Down 3 and to the right one. Maybe that's the easiest way to look at it as opposed to what the actual numbers are. We'll just look at the graph. Well, this one has a negative slope. So this rate of change here is the greatest between 1960 and 1965. So between 1960 and 1965, the temperature had the greatest variation since the graph between those years was the steepest. Something to that effect, kids. All right, I'm going to pause it now because otherwise I have problems with my video. All right, I'm back. That took a second and I had a problem. Switch problems. We're on the next problem. We're on problem 29. Here's our function. It's called C of M. C of M is the cost. TM is the total cost. M months of a membership. Now, hopefully you have a basic understanding how memberships go. So what we have here is we have C of M is equal to 50M plus 7950. And they want us to explain what does the y-intercept and what does the slope of this function have to do with in this job. So hopefully you understand a little bit about functions. So this would be something like a one-time membership fee. It's only paid once. And that's the most important thing that you have to understand. Whereas 50, which is the slope, is being paid every single month. So $50, so one-time membership fee of $79.50. And the 50 is the reoccurring membership fee per month. And that's $50. So you probably have to say this. Y-intercept is the joining fee. Joining fee paid once. The slope, did they actually call it slope? Because they stopped using the word slope. Look at that. The slope. The slope, or the rate of change, is the reoccurring monthly membership fee. If you had all this, you'd get full credit. All right, moving on. All right, so a statistics class survey. I thought this was a kind of a tough question. A statistics class surveyed some students during one lunch period to obtain opinions. Now, if you're surveying people, you're not asking everybody. You're only asking a certain amount. And here's what they found out. So based on the sample, predict how many of the school's 351 males would prefer comedy. Well, based on this thing, if you only had the choice between drama and comedy, and we want to know about comedy, there are 70 males out of a total of 105 males that liked comedy. Now, where did I get the 105 from? Well, there's 105 males surveyed. So 105, now we have to, so this is a ratio. This is the ratio of comedy to all males. Well, it's only a survey, so we have to relate this to the actual population. So how many males are there? There's 351 males. And we don't know how many of them like comedy. So this is just setting up a very simple proportion that we're going to solve. So let's see, 70 times 30 is 2100, 2150? I don't know. Let's just do this. 70 times 35 is equal to 105x. Then divide by 105, divide by 105. And if I put that in my calculator, I get x equals 234. I just wrote 334, but I meant 234. So based on the predict how many fails, justify your answer. So the justification for your answer is the math. So based, and you have to write, because Common Core wants you to write, based on the table from above, we can predict that 234 males would prefer a comedy. Something to that effect, kids. All right, moving on. Page 16. Yay. Oh, my God. All right, I think I might end with this problem. Holy mackerel. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're here watching this, you're going to impress your teacher that you actually understood this question. Here's my notes. Wow, tricky. Because I always do these problems ahead of time. That way I don't make mistakes. But man, was this a hard problem. So first of all, you have to understand what this means. This just states that A is greater than B. That's what it states. What they want you to understand from that is if you did A minus B, that would be positive. I just wrote positive. This problem is so difficult. This would be positive. You'll impress your teacher if you come in and do this. I'll show them all this work. Or B minus A would be negative. Now, why is that the case? Well, that's the case because let's say this was 10 and this would be 3. 10 minus 3 would be positive, but 3 minus 10 would be negative. So this idea is incredibly important with inequalities because if you have something like this, negative 3x is greater than or equal to 12, when you divide by a negative, you have to remember, I'll divide by this negative here, you have to remember to do what? Oh yeah, flip the sign. This sign gets flipped and I get negative 4. So why am I going through all that? Because if you don't understand that idea about this problem, then this problem will eat you up. It probably ate up. I would guess they must have thrown this question out. I can't imagine, except for a few accelerated kids, actually getting this one correct. And if you got this one correct after I'm done with this, you are a freaking math genius. Because not only was that hard, is this a 2-point question? Not only was that hard, the factoring was hard and tricky. So let's go through this and I'm going to show you what I want. So what we end up with is bx minus 3b is greater than or equal to ax plus 7b. Now, if you remember a couple of minutes ago, I said I never want to have my x term or my x squared term negative. And since this is the bigger of these, and I just went through the fact that a minus b is positive, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to subtract bx, and I'm going to subtract bx. So let me take this through steps. I'm going to baby step you through this one. Negative 3b is greater than or equal to, I'm going to write it like this, ax minus bx plus 7b. You'll see why I'm doing this in a minute. All right. Now we still got to get x. We still have to get x all by itself. So what we're going to do now is we're going to subtract this 7b and bring this over. So we get negative 10b is greater than or equal to get out of here, ax minus bx. We're getting there, kids. Now you still have to get x by itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor this. We're going to factor out an x. Again, I told you even the factoring was difficult. You had to realize they had a common factor of x and get a minus b. Now, since a minus b is positive, if I divide by a minus b, I do not have to switch the sign. That's why I wanted to bring it on that side. So a minus b. So what I end up with is negative 10b all over a minus b is greater than or equal to x. And that is the answer. Now, what else? If you have this answer, so that answer is one of the answers that's acceptable. The other answer, and I'm not going to go through it with you because it doesn't deserve any more time on this problem. The other answer you could have is x is less than or equal to, nope, you could have, I thought I wrote it. I'm sorry. You can have x is greater than or equal to, gosh, I don't even remember what the other answer is. Let me look it up because it's such a ridiculous problem. X is, oh, no, they're both less than. X is, oh yeah, x is less than or equal to 10b over b minus a, whatever. Good luck. Nice job. Crazy problem. All right, do I have time for one more? No, I don't have time for this one. All right, I'll be back. So you want to hear a funny story? Let me tell you a funny story. Because although it's only been like about a second or two, maybe not even a second since the last time you saw me, because this video looks like it continues, I actually left. Notice I have a change in shirt probably, right? Left, went and got a root canal, and now I'm back so I can finish this video. So if I start talking funny, if I start drooling on myself, you'll know what's going on. It's not me going crazy. It's the fact that my whole left side of my mouth is still numb. At any rate, here we go. We've got Jessica. You don't care. You do. Some of you do. You're like, oh, Mr. Krause, you're awesome. Jacob. Let's say Jacob's function is this one. So let me write this one down. Jacob's function is f of t. Of course, they had to use confusing names like Jacob and Jessica. They couldn't use like John and Mary or something like that. F of t is 8 times 2 to the t. And Jessica, we'll do Jessica in blue. I don't know why, but it sounds like she sounds like a blue Jessica. Everything feels funny because I'm coming out of numbness. You all know that feeling. I hope you don't. Is 2t plus 3. And the question says, calculate the number of dandelions Jessica and Jacob will have after 5 weeks. So really all we got to do is plug in a 5 for t. So we're going to do 8 times 2 to the 5. And this one we're going to do 2 times 5 plus 3. And what you're going to find out is either way you do this, you get 256. So even if I put these in my calculator, it would give me 256. And then they ask this question. I think we're in the 4-point range here. So based on the growth from each function, explain the relationship between f and t. I don't know if they gave you enough to think about this. So let me show you something real quick. Let me go back over here to my calculator, clear this out for a second. So I think the first one was 8 times 2 raised to the fifth, and we got 256. And the other one was 2 raised to the 5 plus 3. Now, I did it that way purposely. So if I come up here, and let's say I change this to a 7, would that change things? I get 1024, and if I put a 7 in here, lo and behold, I get 1024. So what you may or may not realize right away is just because they were equal at 5 doesn't mean they're always equal. So based on the growth in the functions, explain. Well, these functions are exactly the same. I'm not even exactly. If you look at the guide, I'm not sure exactly what they're asking for. Or hopefully, I don't even know. Are we still in the 2s? Oh, we're only in the 2-point sections. These are exactly the same. Let me just show you why, though, for those of you that are actually interested. It's kind of more trig-based, but let's take a look at Jacob's. I'm going to rewrite Jacob's function like this. And if you're turning this in for your teacher and you do this, they'll think you're really unbelievable, awesome. 8 is really 2 cubed. 2 cubed is 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So if I can rewrite 8 as 2 cubed times 2 to the t, well, you know that if you have like x to the 4th times x squared, that's really equal to x to the 4 plus 2 or x to the 6, correct? Because you add the exponents. So long as the bases are the same, which I have here, all we do is add up the exponents. So this is really equal to 2 to the 3 plus t. Well, if you don't like it like that, we'll write it as 2 to the t plus 3. So the functions are really exactly the same. So they have the same exact, so yeah, they're exactly the same. I'm not sure what else they're looking for that. Kind of a dumb question. Okay, now we're in the 4-point question. So these require a little bit more work. 2-point questions, not a lot of work. 4-point questions, there's going to be, a little bit more work to be done. All right, so hopefully you've done a bunch of these problems and you recognize that what you have here is a parabola that starts up at 80. It goes up and it comes back down and hits the ground somewhere over here. Well, this maximum point, and it's a maximum because this is a negative, is at the vertex. Well, let me show you 2 ways of finding the vertex. One way would just be to use the axis of symmetry. X equals, I'm going to show you 3 ways to find the vertex. X equals negative b over 2a. Now b is 64, so negative 64 over 2 times negative 16, my 2's starting to hurt, is equal to negative 64 over negative 32, which is just positive 2. So at 2 seconds, it's going to be at its maximum height. Wait. Oh, there it is. So the max height occurs at the vertex. The x value of the vertex is 2. Justify your answer. That's good enough. I got enough work there. State the time interval in seconds during which the height of the object decreases. Well, again, if it starts here at 80, it's going to go up and come back down. It decreases from the vertex all the way until it hits the ground. So we got to find out when it hits the ground. So we want to find the root or 0. So here's where the meat of this problem comes. We're going to find out when negative 16, I can't remember if they use t or not, t squared plus 64t plus 80 equals 0. We want to find out when it's equal. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is take out or I'm going to move everything to the right side because I don't like having a negative t squared minus 64t minus 80. Really what I did was I took all of these and brought them over there and just changed their signs. Now I'm going to take out the GCF, and you may not see it, but the GCF is actually 16. Leaves me t squared minus 4t minus 5 equals 0. And I get 16 t minus 5 t plus 1. So my two roots are t equals 5 and t equals negative 1. And if I kept going here, it would cross it at negative 1. So at 5, it hits back the ground. So when is it decreasing? So state the time interval in seconds that the item is decreasing. It's decreasing from 2 to 5 seconds. You probably could get away with doing this as well. By the way, let's do this graphically. I always like to see things graphically as well. The problem with it graphically, it's kind of difficult to see. So we're going to go, it's negative 16. We got to use x squared plus 64x plus 80 equals. And you see it's hard to see. So what we'll do is go into menu, trace, and graph trace. And the beauty of this is we'll just go up here till we get to the maximum. See at the maximum, it's at 144. So if I wanted to be more specific over here, I could say the vertex is at 2,144. That shows, and you could say used calculator to determine. And then write up some kind of explanation like that. Well, I can also use that calculator to find the roots. There's my other root, 50, right? So anyway, that's two ways to do that problem. I'm going to get through this quickly because my mouth's starting to hurt. You guys don't care, do you? You should care. So our function is f of x equals 4x squared plus 16x plus 9. And I want to know how I can make it so I can equal to 0 and state two methods. Well, I think method number 1 would be the quadratic formula. Method number 2 would be completing the square. Although I don't recommend this one because it's really hard. And method number 3 would be graphically. It didn't say explain how to do it algebraically. So any one of these 3 would probably be graphically. But in order to do graphically and see when it crosses the x-axis. I don't know. It's a dumb question. This is a better question. Now, see this words right here? Round to the nearest tenth? That means you can't factor this sucker. So I'm going to do it two ways. I'm going to actually do it by the quadratic formula and then by completing the square. 4, 16, 9. So 4x squared plus 16x plus 9 equals 0. Now, I might do this a little bit different than your teacher. I write this stuff down. A equals 4, B equals 16, C equals 9, and I actually do a D. And if you've watched my videos before when I had to do the quadratic formula, this is the discriminant. I forgot the S. Discriminant. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Now, if you look over at your formula sheet, I'm not even sure. Are you guys given the quadratic formula? Oh, yeah, you are. I forgot about that. They changed things up. So here's the quadratic formula. This is the discriminant, the part that's under the radical. No idea what page that number I was on. There we go. So if I was to do b squared minus 4ac, b squared is 256. That's 16 squared. Minus 4 times 9. This would equal, I don't remember actually, 112. All right, so now I'm ready to go. X equals negative b, negative 16, over 2 times 2 times 4, plus or minus the square root of 112. See, I don't have to do that math now. I've done it all right here. All over 2 times 4. Now, since it said rounded to the nearest tenth, I can just type that in my calculator. So control division, negative 16 over 8. Negative. Now, you can't do plus or minus. You got to pick one. Plus, control division, the square root of 112 over 8. Now, don't round this. Negative 0.6, so x equals negative 0.677124. 77124. We'll round in a second. Always give the unrounded or relatively unrounded question. I say at least 6 decimals usually will cause you no grief. All right, we're just going to change this to a subtraction now. And we get negative 3.3228. Negative 3.32287. 2287. I think the next one was 5, right? 5. And it said round to the nearest tens place. So my two answers are going to be negative 0.7, comma, negative 3.3. So those are my two answers doing this by the quadratic formula. Now I'm going to attempt to do this using completing the square, which isn't bad if you have a calculator. It's just not a great method for this one. So let me do this by completing the square now. So the first step, let's me write it down. 4x squared, I don't even remember what it is anymore, plus 16x plus 9. That's my brain. Plus 16x plus 9 equals 0. Now, step 1 for the quadratic or completing the square is to make sure that your leading coefficient is a 1. So I have to divide everything through by 4. And you're about to see why this is not going to be nice. Nine over 4e. Then this needs to go to the other side, so we'll go to the other side. So now I get x squared plus 4x plus square equals, but because it's a calculator, it's not that bad. Now if you put that in your calculator, I think it's negative 2.25. Doesn't really matter. Here we go. X plus 2 squared. Half of this goes here, and we're going to square it to go there, but put a 4 there. And what if I put a 4 there? I got to put a 4 there. All right, so let me remember what those answers. So what I end up with is x plus 2 squared equals. Now, if I put this in my calculator now, I mean, it's going to tell you 1.75, I believe. So negative 9 divided by 4 plus 4. $1.75. So 1.75. All right, now we take the square root of both sides. Don't forget to put a plus or minus. So I get x plus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 1.75. Bring the negative 2 over, and I get x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 1.75. Well, now we just grab our calculator and say, okay, negative 2 plus the square root of 1.75. Oh, look at that, negative point. That's one of the other ones. And then the other one was negative 2 minus the square root of 1.75. And those are the two answers I got before. So it's clearly doable either way. Just didn't like completing the square for that one. So So we have to do linear regression on this. So they want us to do linear regression. All right, so we got t and y. So come back over here. See how I got multiple tabs open? That's usually a bad thing to do. Don't do it. Ah, damn it. Hit the wrong button. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to call this t. And we're going to call this y. Now I'm going to read off my sheet here so I don't have to watch. So 54, 50, 62, 67, 70, 58, 52, 46, and 48. 9. Day 9, yep. Go back up here. 2900, 3080, 2500, 2380, 2200, oops. 2700, 3000, 3620, and 3720. One of the biggest mistakes made is not double checking these. I mean, they're not hard. 48, 3720, 46, 3620, 52, 3000, 58, 2700, 70, 2200, 67, 2380, 62, 2500, 50, 3080, 50, 3080, 54, 20, and there we go. Okay. So now we're going to do linear regression. So we're going to go menu, 4, 1. You got to use the one that's linear, this one right here. mx plus b. Don't use the second one. Use that one. 3. We'll call this x. I think we called this y. Actually, I don't even think we called it x, did we? Called it t, and we called it y, and we click OK. So there's my function. Stretch this out so you can see it. You should write down m and b unrounded, so negative 58,263. So m is equal to negative 58.263. I use 6 decimals. 888. And y-intercept, or b, is equal to 6182.199074. 199074. Okay, now I'll come through and it says, oh, we got to round this to the nearest integer. That's not bad. So write it as f of t, because that's what they wanted you to write it as. So this round to the nearest integer is negative 58. So negative 58 t plus 6182. All right. So now state the correlation coefficient of the data to the nearest hundredth. And then it asks whether or not it's a strong relationship or not, and how do you know? So we got to go back. We got to get the r value. Not the r squared, we need the r value. It's negative 0.944. So negative r equals negative 0.944. 130. Round to the nearest hundredth, so r is equal to negative 0.94. And does this indicate a strong linear relationship? Yes, this indicates a strong negative linear relationship between temperature, high temperature, and coffee sales. And you would expect that, right? The higher the temperature, the less coffee. The lower the temperature, the higher coffee. The reason is because it is close to -1. The closer to -1 or +1, the higher, the stronger. The stronger the relationship. Write neater on the test, okay? Write neater on the test. All right, here we go. Moving on. All right, guess I'm going to do these problems over again. We're going to do the last 2 problems over again, so that's why that little jump in the video, the sound got messed up. So let me just do these last 2 over again. So anyway, for reading through this problem, we've got 48 meters of fencing, and we're going to call one of the sides X. We're also going to say that we only want 108 square meters for our area. So let's draw a rectangle. Let's see what we got going on here. There we go. X and X. And just now for Y, we'll call these Y. So I know, based on the fact that the perimeter has to be 48, because that's all the fencing I have, I know that 2X's plus 2Y's is equal to 48. I also know that X times Y is equal to 108 because I want the area to be 108. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the substitution method. I want to solve one of these for Y, and I think this is the easier one to solve for Y. So I'm going to bring this over here. We're going to solve it for Y. So 2X plus 2Y equals 48. Subtract the 2x, so I get 2y is equal to negative 2x plus 48. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. And I get y equals negative x plus 24. Now the reason I do that is because this is y. That's not y, but this is equal to y. And I have a y right here, and that's the substitution method. We're going to take this baby, and we're going to put it in here for y, and now we're going to solve it. So x times negative x plus 24 is equal to 108. And now I have a simple quadratic that's actually not that bad to solve. This is not a bad question. Negative x squared plus 24x equals 108. We don't like having negative x squared, so everything's going to go to the right side. So I end up with 0 is equal to x squared minus 24x plus 108. Now the factoring's not, oops, I forgot to get rid of my other answers earlier. Factoring's not too bad. You know, if you bring 108 over here and you go, okay, that's 2 and 54. Well, I know these are both x, and I know they both have to be negative because they have to multiply to a positive and add up to a negative. So nope, those don't. How about negative 4, and I think it's negative 27. I don't know why I put 2 negatives. Those don't add up. And if I do negative 6 times negative 18. Negative 6 and 18. So there it is, 6 and 18. But those aren't your answers. Your answers are x equals 6 or x equals 18. Now you can choose. Now the reason you can choose is, the reason you can choose is because when I come back up here, I can say, oh, x, you're going to be 6, and you're going to be 6. Well, if those are 6, and I know I have 48 feet, so I'll take the 48 and I'll subtract off to 12. I get 36 to share with this one and this one, so each of these has to be 18. Now, I could have said these were 18, in which case these would have been 6. It doesn't matter. The dimensions are width equals 6, length equals 18. There you go, children. One left. Again, one left. Oh, I just did this problem. All right, going to do it again now. Now I won't make any mistakes. I think I made it last time. I think I made a few mistakes. All right, so it says, the Real Good Cinema is conducting a mathematical study, whatever. They're going to sell 200 tickets. They're going to sell adult tickets, which we're going to call X. I know you've read already through the problem, so we're going to call X tickets, adult tickets are X, and the Y are going to represent the child tickets. Now my tooth really hurts. So I can only sell 200 tickets because there's only 200 seats. So I know that X plus Y has to be less than or equal to 200. Now my other equation is going to come from the money. $12.50 for adult, $6.25 for that, and I want to sell at least 1,500. So 12.50x plus 6.25y has to be greater than or equal to 1,500. So those are my two equations that I have to now graph, because that's what the next thing says. It wants you to graph this system. So let me come over here. Hopefully all my marks from the last time doing it are gone. So my equations are, let me do one in, I think we got, it doesn't matter, one in red. X plus Y has to be less than or equal to 200. Or in other words, Y has to be less than or equal to negative X plus 200. So I'll graph that one. So we're just going to hit every dot on the way down. There it is. Ding, 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 ding. We're also going to shade down because it's less than. So as I do this, I'm just going to shade down. Of course, if I had a straight edge, this would be a lot nicer. Hopefully I'll end up at 200 over here. Now it's a straight line, but it's a solid line because it's less than or equal to. All right, now my other equation, which we'll do in green, was 1250x plus 625y has to be greater than or equal to 1500. So now I have to solve this equation for y, which is a little bit trickier. We're going to bring the 1250x over, so I get 6.25y is greater than or equal to negative 12.50x plus 1500. I still got to get y by itself, so I'm going to divide by 6.25. And I end up with y is greater than or equal to negative 2x plus, that was 240. All right, so now I can graph that. Down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. It's another solid line because it's greater than or equal to. And while I'm doing this, I know it's greater than or equal to, so I'm going to start shading this way. Again, this is not how I would do it on the test day. I would make it nice and neat and organized. Graph and graph and graph and graph. Well, hopefully I graphed that right. And we'll graph this way. Now, don't forget, you need to put an S here for solution set because it said it. I forgot to mention it. I mentioned it on the last time I did this video, but not this time. So it says right here, make sure that you put an S where the solution set is. So the last thing we got to figure out is whether or not Marta is smart or not very smart. She says that if we sell 30 adult and 80 child, we'll make it. So we got to prove it based on the graph. So in order to do that, you got to come over here and you should plot that point. 30 adults. Now remember, adults are X. God, I get such a hard time moving this thing. Oh, I'm not sure why Word is opening up. That's just for fun, I guess. Get off. All right, so 30 adults and 80 child tickets. So you have to plot this point, 30, 80. And then come back over here and say something to the effect of, no, Marta is not correct. I wonder why that's not working. Oh, there it is. So, no, Marta is not correct because when I plotted the point 30, 80, it did not fall in the solution set. All right, kids, that's it. That's all she wrote. That's the end of this puppy, and that's the end of all the exams. Good luck on the Regents exam in June. I hope you guys crush it. Study, 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 study. Don't let anybody step in your way. Bye.